everybody, welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. This little quilt is called Dandelions because it's dandelions. Something you might not know about me, because everybody sort of knows me for material obsession books or for applique or for the block of the month. Something I really love doing that you might not know is improv, and this quilt is all completely made with improvised piecing. It is actually little improvised piece stars, improvisational pieced stars. That's what improv piecing is, if you don't know, improvisational. It basically means that there's no template. So when you're putting things together, instead of cutting the perfect little pieces that we all cut when we do our normal piecing, our day-to-day machine patchwork, we don't measure. We just cut and wonk and off we go, and it's crazy. Now, this is something that modern quilters love to think is modern. I hate to tell you, but I've been doing this now for what did I work out the other night? Since 2002, so 24 years. It's the first time I ever made an improvised quilt. And I learnt to improv because not long before we opened Material Obsession, I had bought a book called Freddie and Gwen Collaborate Again by Freddie Moran and Gwen Marston. And I was absolutely just taken away by these little wonky dolls and houses that they had in the book. And I made a quilt out of it, which is one of the first Down the Rabbit Holes that we ever did, called The Burbs. So you can go back and have a look for that in the on the YouTube channel if you're interested and you didn't see it. And I wanted to put it in Material Obsession 1. And so I wrote to Freddie and Gwen and asked for their permission to do that. And they said yes, and that was all great. And I taught that quilt for quite some time. But in the making of little wonky dolls and houses, I thought to myself, well, surely there's a million and one other little wonky things that you could make. Like, they don't have to be, wonky dolls and wonky houses. They could be wonky apples, they could be wonky chairs, they could be wonky letters, they could be wonky all sorts of things. And so I've been doing wonky, or what is now called improv, for a very long time, and I think I've tried just about everything that there is to try. Every time I think of something new, I go ahead and try it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I need to play with it a little bit to see how it goes. However, this is one of the more successful ones. It's one of my favourite little improv quilts that I've ever made. The pattern is in Quilting from Little Things, and it's called Dandelions because essentially it's a field of dandelions. So all these is little wonkified stars, and then the stars are squared back up again and put together on a field of green. So they're all white because that's what dandelions are, white around the outside with a little yellow in the middle, and they're all pretty scrappy. So what I've done is that all the whites around the outside are the same fabric. All the yellow on the inside is obviously just one fabric. But they're all different. I've tried not to repeat anything. I think there's a few repeats in this quilt, but not very many, mainly in the yellows, I think, rather than in the whites. And then all my background is solid green, which again is quite unusual for me. But the reason that I like it is when I started putting these blocks together after I'd made the first few, I realised that every now and then, when you put the same colour next to each other, and you don't want to do it all the time, just every now and then, you get a leaf. Look at that. It's a dandelion leaf. It's the small things that cheer me up. So every now and then, where's another one? If you step back from the quilt, you can see it better than if you can up front. So when I get back again from the quilt, here's one here. Here's a little leaf here. It's difficult up close. But yeah, every now and then you get a little leaf, which I think is just really fun and unusual and unexpected. It's not done on purpose. It's just, making sure that every now and then I did put a couple of darts, here's one here, together so that they made that little leaf. Oh, and here's another one. Now that I'm looking for them, they're popping up everywhere. This is a single bed size quilt, but you can make it any size that you want to. You just keep making dandelions until you're done, essentially. And I've also made, which I don't own anymore because I gave it to a friend's son, a galaxy quilt that is the same as this. So it was on navy blue and it had the white twinkly stars all over it. And I think I had red in the center, and it was the galaxy. And then out here I had rocket prints all around the outside. It was a present for a friend's little boy. quite some years ago. But my outside print has unicorns. So it's a meadow, but look, every now and then there's a unicorn. It makes me irrationally happy to have a field of dandelions with unicorns in it. If you've never done improv before, this is a really, really good start because it's very simple improv. Like, you don't have to join any scary scenes. You don't have to do anything that's too out there. All you have to do is let yourself go and try not to measure when you put in those star points are on. Just the pattern will explain how to do it, but when you put in the star points on, try really hard not to make them all the same, not to make them all come into the center and cross over and be perfect little triangles like we do, because you want them to be wonky. The whole point of improv is that it's ever so slightly off and whimsical and not where it should be. So if you want to try improv, this quilt is your friend. It's called Dandelions. It's in Quilting from Little Things, or the pattern, as always, is available on www.sarahfielke.com as either a PDF or a paper pattern. And you don't need any fancy tools to make this quilt. You just need a rotary cutter and a sewing machine. So give it a go. See you next week.